So we've had lots of really good feedback from people that have landed and have seen them and have contacted, you know, people within their network, and then it's eventually trickled back to me. So they were definitely a really good send. It's in a really good location. So every month we get to change out 4 pictures, and we're actively working with Pattison to make sure that we're following with seasonality and event-based photographs so that we can stay current and always sort of step ahead of what's going on. So when people arrive, they can see things. We've also with the introduction of Morgan Matheson, the new Shuswap tourism manager. The relationship has definitely gotten stronger. So Morgan is very amenable to making sure that she reaches out to all of the areas of CSRD, including Sycamore Seminar, so that we get that sort of equal marketing time. So again, that relationship has allowed for a lot of targeted Sycamore campaigns to be executed. The most recent one was during Tourism Week, which is what was at the end of May into the beginning of June. And they did a really nice spread on Sycamore and sort of the countdown to summer. So we sit on a monthly call with Shuswap Tourism. Now they're very close to rewriting and finalizing their terms of reference, and the Shuswap Tourism Committee will be formed again. So I know it was something that was done in the past. They put a halt to it while the new manager was being hired, and they will be starting that again. For some of the initiatives, so the visitor experience guide is definitely our biggest project to date. It's a 60-page beautiful piece of work that will be in market July 1st. It's at the printers right now. So we had a lot of input, a lot of back and forth, but I think we've landed on a product that we're going to be really proud to get out to all of our stakeholders in town and in all of the visitor centers within the region. So it's going to be at the visitor center once it's in market, so you guys can pick up a copy and show it to all your friends and visitors that come into town. We did a tourism ambassador training with the chamber. We were going to do a second one based on demand, but we haven't seen or had any requests to do a second one. Our first one was attended by 10 staff members from the community, and basically what we had was a go-to HR representative come out and basically teach or remind the staff on what it was to promote and how to properly promote Sycamoose. There was sections within that allowed them to make sure that they were updated with send people for maps, visitor center hours, talking about our key things for the summer, like the beach park and some marquee events that we're doing. So it was a really good training. We're definitely going to offer that year over year because it is valuable for and it's open to any tourism businesses in town that want to send their staff. So should there be a need in the next couple of weeks, we're absolutely open to doing it again. The website, so Explore Sycamoose website, is getting a ton of really good traffic to it. Our videos are being clicked quite a bit. We are doing an update and a refresh, and really that's about the usability in the where to stay and what to eat section. So those will be completely refreshed and revamped, making it a little bit more user-friendly on ways to contact or connect with those businesses in town. Our Canada Day content project is coming up. So I've hired a Destination BC approved photographer, Victoria Hack, who's going to come spend the day with me on the water at the park, really capturing and getting some refreshed content for Sycamoose on Canada Day. And then we also have July and August video content projects. So we're going to be having some drone video and some regular video happening around town, targeting our good weather days so that we can again get a little bit more of an update or refresh on our content. I'm going to be performing a facility audit and documentation of the areas around town, which will play into the 2023 event attraction campaign. So even though we're not quite halfway through the year, it is time to start reaching out to businesses, organizations, and event companies to pitch Sycamoose as a location, an event location to bring their events in 2023. So we've got some priority ones and some larger scale events that we want to make sure that we can deliver the information in Sycamoose to make it, an attractive area for people to consider hosting their events. And then we did target an OHV ATV map with the Shuswap Country Riders. We're actually going to move that to the fall and lean more on the GIS mapping and CSRD and Shuswap trails to allow us to get a more developed mapping content that we can create into that guide. Some of the events and activations. So our geocache tour is launching July 1st. We've just finalized the logo. We've got the marketing assets ready to go. So July 1st, we'll have a full geo tour in Sycamoose. So it's something that's promoted internationally. Their geocaching community is very active, and it is something that is starting to really pick up steam now that people are traveling and our borders have opened again. Social media contests. We're going to have one in July, and this will help us gather some more of that authentic user-generated content. That will be for Monastery Festival tickets, and then one in August for Fungi Festival passes. And then Explore St. Canoes is the sponsor for the July 11th Music in the Park event. And we'll switch back over to ECDEV. So you guys will all be receiving an invite. I'm just finishing up the final design touches on it, but we are going to have our first open house for the Dev Corps at our new office space. So this will be Thursday, July 7th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Our board of directors are going to be there, and it's open to the community, the business community, mayor, council. Basically what we're looking at doing is allowing people to come up, see the new space, talk to the board of directors, a bit of an education piece on what the Development Corporation has been doing and what we're looking at doing into the future. So I encourage all of you to come. There'll be snacks and refreshments, so you can pop in at any time between 5 and 7. Our DevCorp website. So with the other projects that were a bit time sensitive, the completion of the website got pushed back a little. So the framework is built. Everything looks great. Target date now for me to finish populating everything and launch this July 11th. The strategic plan, again, we went back to MDB Deloitte to give them some additional feedback. So our new target completion date is July 20th with the level of feedback that we wanted to get back to them. So we understand that this is a 3-year, very robust action plan, and we want to make sure it's done right. So we have given them an extra 4 weeks to produce more of the results that we were looking for from this action plan. Just an update on our workforce roundtable. So this is a project that I partnered with Salmon Economic Development Society, and we built this bringing in Work BC, Shuswap Work Hub, and it's gotten to a point now where it's actually growing legs. It's becoming an asset to a lot of providers, and we have now turned it over to Work BC. So I sat in on a session this morning to see what their new Work BC website and the Shuswap Work Hub collaboration will look like. And I'll be happy to update you as soon as that is completed, but it's designed to be a resource for our employers that are having workforce challenges and bringing our actual service providers right down to places like Okanagan College and understanding Okanagan College and our high school to understand where there might be gaps in our training and trades based on each community's economic needs for staffing. So again, I will be very happy to update you. And then for business support, we've done one digital marketing workshop, and based on the really positive feedback and the great attendance, we're actually going to do another one in the fall. This is open to all businesses to understand how to pivot their business and get it more online, have a better, more concise online presence. So again, it is open to all businesses. We'll do another marketing push once we land on a date. It'll be at the DevCorp offices. Again, it's one of those sessions that we feel that the businesses that did attend got a lot out of. So it was designed for any level of business. For someone that didn't have, there was business there that did not have any presence, right up to businesses that want to get more granular into how to use their social media to turn that into sales. And we have an emergency preparedness workshop tomorrow. Again, this is really tackling that concept of what do you do? How are you prepared for something if something should happen? We have 2 fire chiefs coming. So our fire chief from Stickamoose, and I want to say one that's out of the CSRD. We've got Robin coming to deliver it, and then John Reed from Shuswap Economic Development is also coming up to present. So we've got a great lineup of speakers. If anybody is interested, feel free to come. It's free for the workshop. Again, that's 6 to 8 p.m. at the DevCorp offices tomorrow night. And then we are the official host of the Chamber's Biz After Biz networking event this Friday, June 24th. It will be at Parkland Mall from 6 to 8. Again, all businesses are invited. We're going to have music, a beer garden, some snacks there. So it would be great to see the community out, come see some of the businesses. The Parkland Mall businesses are going to stay open so that people can go in and see. There's a lot of new businesses in there. It's full. So it'd be great to for people to understand those businesses that are there. And that is all. Thanks,
Carly. Comments or questions from council? Councilor Bushel, Councilor McKay.
Yeah, Carly, good work. It's really good to see our MRD tax money being put to good use. It's really working well. I really enjoy all that going through the Kelowna airport when I'm flying out and seeing all our ads, up against some of those bigger communities. So it looks really, really good. And and it's good to see our economic development starting to really start to play a role, so it's doing really well. I wish I could attend the both the last Biz After Biz and the emergency preparedness. I got to leave tomorrow, but I wish I was there for that. Good work. Thank you.
Councilor McKay.
I was just curious, what's our capacity for visitors in Sycamoose, like for one night? How many people can we accommodate?
243 beds. So but that's not accounting for Airbnb. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, that kind of thing, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I have to actually go back and look at in terms of those beds. I mean, I guess you could look at double occupancy at each of those, so.
It's just curious.
Yeah, you know what, I can find out more details.
Oh, that's fine, yeah.
It's probably a good set to know.
Wait, any other comments or questions? Counselor Anderson, go ahead.
Thanks, Carly. Great job. Yes, and there's lots going on and lots in the work for Sycamoose. So it's pretty exciting to see everything starting to move forward. And as Gordon mentioned, the MRDT and seeing our money being, you know, how long we rallied to get that and see it now being put to really good use. So that's awesome. Thank you. Great job.
Thank you. Carly, you really know your stuff. And I went to visit the new headquarters, I'll call it HQ because I'm a guy. And I would encourage everybody to go to that. That's the 7th, 5 to 7 p.m. And check it out. It's a beautiful facility.
Just a quick comment on the workforce roundtable and the community's future shoe swap and how beneficial they can be to the business community. And I'm glad you're having that because that relationship has been ongoing with us for a long time and they can really help accelerate some of our business programs. So I'm glad that you're in touch with them as well. I could comment on a whole lot of different other things on here, Carly, but yeah, you're doing a great job and looking forward to all some of these. Thank you. All right, so next, moving on. Sycamoose Community Health Center update. Karen, you have the floor.
On June 1st, 2022 marked year one since the district took over the medical clinic and we became the health center. Along with the three outstanding MOAs, Alexander and Carla, and Elaine Kukas, our RN, who's there 2 mornings a week. We've had a really good year. From June 1st of 2021 to June 1st of 2022, there were 12,944 office visits, which is an increase of 27.1 increase from the previous year. Currently, there are 2,598 detached patients, which is approximately 23% of increase from last year at this time. So although we do not identify as a walk-in clinic per se, in the past year we've seen 1,014 walk-in patients or patients that have found themselves suddenly unwell or injured. Dr. Edmondson is 0.75 FTE, and she has a full patient panel, but she's typically the doctor that sees these patients that need urgent care. So we've had 398 no-shows, and currently working on a no-show policy that helps to mitigate that. Although sometimes with the no-shows, it leaves room for those people to come in, so it's not a bad thing. And telehealth accounts for about 53% of visits at this stage, and hopefully that continues because there's so many times where patients don't need to travel into the office. Simple phone call off, and so I'm hoping that continues to be the case. In honoring the Truth and Reconciliation Call to Action number 23, item 3, regarding cultural competency training. On March 28th, the District of Sycamoose hosted the first History Matters workshop. This is a workshop that is designed through BCIB and is facilitated through them. I have the privilege of being one of the non-Indigenous trainers, so I do this sort of on the side for different crews. So what it is, anybody that works for BCIB is required to take this training, and it's quite a remarkable experience every time. So the reaction and feedback to our first session was outstanding, and I've applied for a grant that would enable us to host several more throughout the year. Regarding the new center, we have established a work group of healthcare advocates, and our mandate is to establish programming and services and explore the potential future needs so the infrastructure can be established. And as wellness is much more than just being free from illness, the vision is to allow for the best possible health in our physical, intellectual, spiritual, and social selves, and offering the holistic and culturally appropriate approaches to achieving health, well-being, and harmony in our collective lives, as all dimensions of wellness are interrelated and crucial. So I attended two Rural Coordination Center, which is RCCBC. It's that sort of sits under the Joint Standing Committee under the Doctors of BC. I attended two of their meetings last week and their conference in Penticton in May. The meetings are part of a UBC research project, and the team was conducting site visits and met collectively with various staff and healthcare providers at Scotch Creek, Chase, Sorrento, Blind Base, and Sycamoose. Fortunately, the Squebec leaders were unable to attend. And Sycamoose was commended for their initiative in inquiring at the medical clinic and also for a very successful interagency meetings that Donna Helgeson initiated many visits and facilitates. These meetings are really well attended and a variety of services and programs, and it connects the variety of services and programs in not only our community, but surrounding communities. And that interagency meeting came up a couple of times in the meetings, just really celebrating that. So the Rural Care Coordination Center of BC seeks to improve the health of rural people and communities of British Columbia by supporting physician and healthcare provider health and practice, growing relationships through collaboration and partnerships, and augmenting feedback loops and enhancing innovation. So these goals are achieved through communication, facilitation, collaboration, evaluation, and sharing of best practices, which is what those two sessions last week were about. Meetings are absolutely fantastic for a variety of reasons. And for me, it was the opportunity to meet some really remarkable people that serve their communities in a variety of ways pertaining to health and wellness. These relationships are crucial to the regional facility that we are developing. And the key points that collectively, as that whole group was decided, we need to enhance and find solutions for our better health to lab services, optimize the expertise of responders, establish better working relationships with Interior Health Authority, expand mental health services, really explore the seniors day away programming and expanding that, aging in place programs and facilities, housing, daycare, and recruiting volunteers for fundraising and that kind of thing, because the demographic of the people that are typically in these roles is aging. So in conclusion, like really I've learned so much this past year, and realized each day how much I have yet to learn and discover and comprehend. But what I do know for sure is that there's absolutely no shortage of teamwork, expertise, compassion, and heart, not only in this room, but in our community and amongst the province wide. I just really want to thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Hey, comments or questions for Karen? I can't believe that a year's gone by already that fast and how much work you've done. All right, comments or questions? Bob?
Thank you. Karen, we're glad that you're leading this and you've been a good servant for the community. Thank you for your good work. Can't believe it's a year, but it feels like a year when you look at the accomplishments over the 12 months. So that's good.
Gordon?
Yeah, Karen, you're doing a great job there first year, and those numbers, 23%, that's you, for a very first year. I think you're doing a great job, and you've got a great team there.
Yeah.
You bet. Keep up the good work.
Malcolm?
Yeah, good job. Happy anniversary. I think I think Canada Census says Sycamoose has 2,600 people for population, and your stats are saying you have 2,600, well, 3 or 4 patients short of 2,600 patient panels. So we're serving our community well. How is the wait list?
Well, we're currently not compiling a wait list anymore because we went through that 300 or whatever it was, but we are because there are people that phone that want to be part of the clinic, but they are already attached to another doctor. And we have to be very careful about that. But although oftentimes the walk-in patients will sort of revert into to be a permanent attached patient at the clinic. Because there's such a shortage of doctors, and they have to ask the question, do you have a doctor? And if they do, it's just not good practice to take. I mean, people do move practices for a variety of reasons. And that happens, but, you know, we don't want to make a practice of doing that. You know, when the need arises, we do. So right now, we don't have an active waiting.
Councillor Malmston and Councillor Anderson.
Yeah, great job, Karen. My comment or question is do you track non-residents? Like how many non-residential patients you have that number?
I can, and I did that a while back for Kelly and Evan, and I actually forget.
It was about area E, was area E that we looked at and how many people's postal codes were not within our district boundaries, and it was about 25 to 30%.
Right.
The area E, not the tourism.
Yeah, there's
Component.
lots of tours, but they would be noted as temporary patients. They wouldn't be active, they're temporary, so I can find that out.
Well, it's just that if we're looking for funding for a facility that
Mhm.
area E, CSRD should be contributing something. And
Oh, yes, that's why we
have an exact number of what that percentage is, then we can actually go knock on their.
Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. That was going to be my question too, is the residents around that aren't right in the district of Sycamoose is where our patients coming from. But what a great change in the area. You're doing a great job, and thank you.
Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, Karen, one other quick one. When you were talking about not taking any more patients, and I know we were slammed there for a while, new people moving into the community that are from out of province, and they making this their, you know, their primary resident. They, you know, I know somebody that called me and they were turned away, but could I send them back there?
that's kind of the whole thing with why we don't have that waste list, because we know what's happening as far as the demographic changing and people moving in. So we want to keep space for those people. So, and it's, yeah, it kind of sometimes depends on who you talk to, like, so it was it's, we do take new patients, first of all, on a walk-in basis, and then it evolves.
Okay.
Yeah, any other comments or questions? One comment from me, Karen, it's amazing the difference, you know, when I'm one of those 27% increases because I had all my records transferred from Salmon Arm and you helped me out, and Dr. Edmondson's been absolutely amazing. And so it just shows you how much that the facilities that we're going to build is going to be so important to the community in the near future, because I think that these numbers are going to even increase way more than what they have been. And the need for the entire region and the job that you've done in order to coordinate that, and the atmosphere inside the clinic is absolutely over the wall. So you've done a really good job there as well. So thank you very much for your report, and I'm looking forward to seeing this accelerate even more. One thing, you and I still have a date. We got to go deal with this Salmon Arm Hospital Association and get their support as well. Kelly will really be impressed with us once we can get some more money. All right, thanks, Karen. All right, going on, strategic priorities. Anybody from council would like to discuss any of the strategic priorities right now? Not seeing any hands. Councillor Malmus.
Well, I'd just like to ask to do with the rail trail, the governance committee's been canceled until they haven't even got a date. It just said September after. So there's decisions that are being made 100% by staff. There's no consultation with the elected officials at all. So I was wondering if I could get a bit of support. Council would just say that if I could address that in a not too abusive letter to basically ask why the big delay on everything. Because we donated funds to a section from mile 0 to kilometer, I think it's 20, the old Barron Town site. So, you know, when's that going to actually materialize? So, or maybe staff can write the letter.
Councillor McCabe.
I thought I've seen some correspondence recently from the CSRD in regards to our grant and our economic opportunity fund and the reason for the completion date was March 2023, but it may be extended. But there was some reasoning there too for that extension. Forget where, in the minutes, CSRD minute, last meeting maybe, or was it reported at the meeting? I forget where I've seen that correspondence, but they did, because we offered up our economic opportunity fund, our portion of it. Specifically for the rail trail, and we were promised that it would be built this year. And then we looked at the grant application or the CSRD application, and it was actually, the commitment was to be completed by March of 2023, which doesn't give you a lot of construction season in the winter months there, so you assume it would be done this fall. No, I've seen some correspondence saying that, no, there's going to be an extension and because of maybe some retaining wall engineering, or I'm not sure, block scaling and retaining wall stuff, or getting the contractor online.
It was from where the rail trail's got some washout areas on the lake there. They're hiring an engineer to do that. By the time they get around to building it, we probably won't have any money left, so. Just saying.
Gordon. Colleen.
Yeah, just through the chair, wouldn't maybe Kelly would know, that money that we gave them, is that earmarked for the trail? Like, can that be used up in administration all summer?
Can that be used up in what?
Like administration costs and.
You know, that's a good question. None of it has come out of our EOF pot yet because nothing has been completed yet, but I can follow up with them in terms of when that money actually moves and what it's being used for. Not a problem at all.
Thank you.
To find out more information and also report back on them the timing and get actually a proper explanation on where they're at.
Good, thank you.
Colleen.
Yeah, that was kind of my question too, that money that's allocated for head of the rail trail to wherever, you know.
19.8.
Whatever, yeah. So is that the portion? Is there portions in there that they're fixing? Are there any portions in there that need to be fixed, or can they just move forward with that and start planning on next sections to fix? I guess we don't have enough information from them ever.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating, and I'm certain it's frustrating for residents.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, well, my concern is they've tied up money that we had that we could have used for any other project. If we'd have known, we could have gave it because we get that topped up every year. So we lost that one. And then, of course, I know they'll be back with their hand out like this for the next one as soon as we get it. So like, we can't be the only group funding this anymore. So.
Counselor Evans.
Thank you. I almost would like to request that we write a letter, probably leave it with staff so it's worded well, but write a letter saying that we're not going to give you any more money until we get some timelines and some assurances of some progress on this. It's too late to delve into the past with this a little bit, but the future is like ante up.
Agree.
Counselor McCabe, go ahead.
I think there's a bit of a catch-22 here because I remember some correspondence from the interim CAO actually, and in response to the schedule. And it mentioned that one of the issues is the district of Sycamoose in current zoning of the trail. So inadvertently, we may be responsible for not tendering the project, but starting construction.
That would even touch it.
Yeah,
All right, any other comments on that?
I'm not sure if that's in camera, so I can't go any further on that.
Daryl, regarding flood mitigation and where we're at right now with Shuswap Lake and Eagle River and whatnot, can you give us a bit of an update where we're at with that and what's transpiring right now? And just
Sure. Through the chair, we last I saw, we were 348.8, 348.9. And we know at 349.2, we start to fill up the downtown a little bit, so. We're full. I'm glad you got the models there. There's a couple of models. One's called the Clever and one's called. I don't remember the other one, the Warren's model maybe. Anyway, the dotted lines are kind of showing what they're projecting for the next little bit. It looks like, we're getting really close to the point where we're gonna flatten out and be below what we saw a couple of years ago. So we've been really dependent on the rain, and forecast is looking good after tonight. So we're optimistic.
Any more concerns around 2 Mile and the wildfire issue there in Wiseman Creek?
I mean, that's going to be an ongoing concern through the summer, and it's more about the intensity of the rainfall. So we're watching events come in and we're acting on that. So overall, this is just slow and steady, and we're full and hope for the best. I'm thinking it's looking pretty good.
Okay, thank you. Gord?
Yes, through the chair, Daryl, yeah, one of the spokesmen for 2 Mile approached me the other day, and Lanny, and she was, really concerned that they've been put back on a 2-week evacuation notice. Just because the seniors, they can't, you're not even supposed to, you have to be able to leave your place in 15 minutes. Some of the seniors can't even make appointments. So they're looking at, they're looking at the creek. It's really low at Wiseman Creek. It's really low. And they're just concerned, that 6 Mile had an evaluation done, and their evacuation order came off, and their 2 Miles didn't. And so, yeah, they're just, wondering when that's evaluation is going to be completed, which Jen's been helping me out. And yeah, just real concerned about them being on another 2-week evacuation alert. It's just really hard on the seniors, really hard on the residents there. So I don't know if there's anything we can do to, talk to the emergency PEP program and make them have another look at it, or, they're all on pins and needles out there.
Okay, all right. Anything else on priorities?
I was gonna say through the chair, so we are meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. to reassess just based on the weather pattern that's projected through tonight. And it is constantly being assessed, so, and it isn't taken lightly, and we do really respect the residents have been adhering to what the EVAC alert means. And we can only imagine how difficult it is on them. And so there's ongoing communication through the neighborhood emergency program as well, that Kathy's Semchuk has been communicating with them. So I mean, that's a non-answer, is that we appreciate it, how difficult it is, and that we are constantly assessing it. And we will look at it tomorrow once we get through tonight, and hopefully we could lift that alert.
And Jen, real quick one, are we communicating at all with them, or it's just Kathy?
Kathy is primary, is the main contact, but we also, Brett goes out there as well. We do have notices up. There's emails every 2 or 3 days that are also being sent to all residents. And then there's somebody that goes on site and shares those to make sure that everybody got that email. It's difficult. I can only imagine that, when you're living under that state of alert. And hopefully we get some warmer weather with less rain.
Yeah, and I just got to say thank you to Daryl's team and Daryl and his team, and also Brett and his crew. You have an issue, you just pick up the phone and they're on it right away. So thank you very much.
All right, anything else on the priorities? Okay, hearing none, then we'll move on. All right, so council's reports, Councilor Bushel, you can start out. I think you already gave your report.
Have a lot to report. Just we've been working with Jason and Jamie on the curling rink. The curling rink's having a tough time after the last couple of years, and there's for their costs and everything. Membership's low, so we're just working with them. We're gonna try to refabricate work out a new program with them. But Colleen's helping, and yeah, we've been working hard on that.
All right. Councilor Aries.
Nothing to report.
Councilor Anderson.
Just the curling club meeting. We've, working on some marketing ideas, some membership drives, some funky new ideas. So we'll see what happens.
Councilor Malmus.
just busy in my fields, but I'd just like to mention about the curling club, like. The cost to curl has been extremely, it's been the same for 20 years. That's one of their issues. Yes, they have a dwindling membership, but. The services with that facility for that amount of money. It's a bit low, like, I hope when you guys do your work and help market it, that you don't just consider that we basically need to subsidize this. We already subsidized the building. We put in a new ice machine. We've done this concrete in the floor. We've got a grant for $300,000 and it's a good facility. It just needs to be utilized more, that's all.
Counselor McCabe.
Well, I might as well chime in on the curling. I've helped,
Might as well.
I've helped Councilor Anderson and Councilor Bushel with some advice. Big discrepancy between what the pickleball club pays and what the curling club pays for the same building for the same time periods. Anyhow, just remind staff that it's a recreational option in Sycamus, and it should something that should be provided by the local government, local community to as a recreation service. No different than we hire somebody to run the rec center, which is the CSRD. And yeah, so anyhow, like Councillor Malma said, you shouldn't look at it as a business case. You should look at it as a rec service for the community and how much it would cost the district to provide that service if a nonprofit society wasn't providing it. Yeah, sort of that. I went to attend a planning committee meeting today. I also attended the interagency meeting yesterday. And that's about it.
All right. Counselor Evans.
Councillor Evans went to the PAC meeting yesterday to say sayonara to our principal of 5 years, Mark Marino, who did an amazing job. One of Mark's big accomplishments was that he made sure that there was free food every day for the students. And that really changed the culture of the school and their enthusiasm in life, because food is amazing that way. And said hi to Principal Lyle Chapman, the new man on the job. And the school's excited about getting their new basketball hoops ordered and approved and going into our newly paved facility over the tennis courts. And then I heard a new tennis club is forming at Sycamus, so people are excited about the new surface. And kudos to Tamara Longhorn at Looney Tooney and others in the community that really worked hard to raise money for the Ukrainian family that arrived last Thursday night. And they're in town and didn't arrive with much, just a little bag each, and they were able to go buy clothing and toiletries and everything else they need. And that's going to be an ongoing effort for a little while. And then the big thing, and I met with Councillor Anderson about this about 3 weeks ago, was we are looking for a permanent place for this these two family members to live, because they've been put into one bedroom with the family that already lived here, but it's not going to be long-term workable. So we are working on that, and but it's exciting to see them arrive, and they love the shoe swap. And it's nice for them to come in the spring where they can see what it's like here. So that's pretty exciting.
So, right, I'll keep mine short, but I just want to give a shout out to Communities in Bloom and all the good work that they're doing around town. The town looks awesome. And it looks like we got the caboose thing kind of sorted out. They're going to take over and do their thing with that. So apart from several different meetings with different developers and lots going on in Sycamus, and major concerns when it comes to the waterfront and 2 Mile and the wildfire situation there. And hopefully we can get through this year without any major events. Anyway, that's my report. Is there anybody online that would like to speak right now?
If anybody wishes to address council, please raise your hand.
All right, anybody in the gallery? Deb,
Just a quick update, the art boards are almost all done. I met with Darryl. He was happy with it, so we're looking at locations for them, but I'm still waiting to find out exactly how many I have before I allocate them out, but a few have started to go out. And we got a donation, Rocks creating an internment memorial camp garden. It's starting to look really good. And John and I went for a little drive around town of the unsightly premises, and we've got some donations from parkland, so lots going on.
okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right. Okay, the 2021,
Sorry, can I just go back to Bob? Bob, how old is the child that arrived last night? Last week?
I've been told I can't give specific.
Okay. Okay,
High school age is safe to say,
okay,
and then the other family member.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'll find out. Okay.
all right, the 2021 annual report and statement of financial information. Is there anyone want to comment on the financial report before I go through the recommendation by staff? Jeff?
A great looking booklet. I don't know what members of staff or who it was that put it together, but it's a very, very professional presentation and easy to read.
All right. Any other comments on it? Gord?
Yeah, just, Kelly and her team has done a great job and, kudos to putting that package together. Like Jeff says, it's really easy to read and it's an attractive package and thank you very much. You did a great job.
It was Miss Jennifer Bruns that took
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thanks, Jen. You're
So if anybody wants one of these, where do they get it at?
I have quite a few, I have extra copies and I've gone and distributed them around town as well. So I've taken them to the senior center, the resource center. Because through the chair.
Chamber.
I will check if, I believe some copies were given, but yeah, I'll check on that one.
I think that every business should drop to the doorstep or mail or however.
Active office.
Well, this is my 11th year on council and I've never seen a better report put together than this particular annual report. It's absolutely first class. It gives all the details and anybody that wants to take a look at that will understand how much work that's gone on in the district over the last 10 years, probably more so in the last 5 years, and amazing job. Well done. All right, I'll read the recommendation. And in conjunction with submissions and questions from the public, will consider and approve the 2021 annual report as presented this 22nd day of June 2022, and further that council approves the 2021 statement of financial information as presented. I need a mover. Councillor Malmus, Councillor Evans. Any other comments or questions? All right, Jen, do you want to comment?
No, I just, this is beyond a statutory requirement. It's a great opportunity to communicate with the public on our initiatives and what we're doing, and that holistic look at how council is moving initiatives forward. So it's just, I see it as an opportunity for external communication beyond just meeting our duty. So thank you, council, for your kind comments. And I hope that getting it around the community will just help share the great progress that we have done here.
Thanks, Jen. I call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, staff report, UBCM Strategic Priorities Fund Grant Application Community Transportation Plan. There's a recommendation that council support a Strategic Priorities Grant Fund application under the capacity building stream for the development of a community transportation plan. I need a mover on this. Councillor Aries, seconded by Councillor Bushel. Scott, can you give us a report on this?
And thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we have an opportunity to submit an application for capacity building green priorities fund. So this isn't a capital project, it's a planning project. And we thought it would be appropriate to apply for a integrated community transportation plan. We're working towards partnership with Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. I did receive a letter of support from today to support our grant application. Essentially, we'll be applying for $162,000 for a community transportation plan to look at roads within the district and then how they intersect with the numbered highways, and then also looking at the highways and what improvements may be needed down the road.
All right. Any comments or questions for Scott? Councillor McCabe.
I guess we'll have to integrate that with their 4-laning plans they have through our arterial way. There are none, yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Yeah, I'll call a question on the resolution. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. All right, development variance permit application number 2022-143 DVP. This is number 18 on 1705 Hillier. I think there was a letter that was given to us. I hope that council has digested it. A recommendation of the District of Sycamoose issue development variance permit number 22-143 DVP to vary Sycamoose zoning bylaw number 101/1993, section 603. Exterior setbacks for accessory residential buildings from 6 meters to 3.49 meters for a deck, and from 6 meters to 3.0 meters for a shed, and section 603(4)I from 1 to 2 accessory residential buildings for a deck and a shed. I need a mover on this, Councillor Malmus, seconded by Councillor Bushel. Scott, can you give us a report on this as well?
Thank you. I'll give a report. We have 3 applications in the same area, so I'll start by introducing those, and then council consider each variance their own. So the property is located at 1705 Hillier Road East. Here's an air photo of it before it was developed. So now there's probably about a dozen new residential units on the property, and the roads and everything are built in. The property is designated residential medium density in the community plan and R4 mobile home park in the zoning bylaw. 3 properties that are the 3 mobile home sites that are being variances. And so when this was initially established, it was development permit 21041 DP was to permit 34 mobile home sites, and it also looked at the landscape plan and a drainage plan. And then at that same time, a variance was issued to reduce the landscape buffers and also to reduce setbacks for accessory buildings. Then council did issue another development variance permit to further reduce setbacks again on the property. We did receive 3 public submissions, and I know some of them are here in the gallery tonight. There might be someone online as well. But we did receive 3 submissions from the public of people who live next door at 1707 Hillier Road East. And so they're at the existing mobile home park next door. And their concerns are the 1 meter buffer. So that would be on the west side of that, or the east side of the property hasn't been established. So there's supposed to be a 1 meter vegetative buffer. No work has been done on that. They're also concerned about the drainage and the grading. And there is a drainage plan where all the water is supposed to flow to that green space in the corner. So they're concerned that that plan hasn't been followed. And then they're also concerned with some of the finishing along the sidewalk. So along the sidewalk, there was to be a landscape buffer, and then that was varied in the 21041 DVP. And the idea is that individual mobile home site owners or renters would maintain that area. And I guess they're concerned that that hasn't happened either. So those are the three public feedback we had, and they refer all of the developments, all the development variance permits. So this one in particular is to vary the setbacks from 6 meters to 3.49 meters. And that's for a deck, and then 6 meters to 3 meters for a shed. And then the bylaw right now says every mobile home site can have one accessory building. And so they need to vary that to 2 accessory buildings. This is the property you're standing just about on Hillier Road, or kind of in the middle of the park. You're back to Hillier Road looking at the mobile home site. You can see where the mobile home site has been graded and the services are put in. So the mobile site is probably roughly right there. So they're looking to vary the setback, where right now it's 6 meters, although it was varied down to 4 meters. They want to come within 3.49 meters, so 50 centimeters of that. Here's you can see the drawing showing the property. They do have that extra 50 centimeters on that side of the property, the component of another mobile home site, but they've already installed the services. So they wouldn't be able to move the unit. As part of the consultation, the Planning and Development Committee considered this, and they recommended it be issued, but they did want a rationale for why the unit just can't be moved over that 50 centimeters. And that's the reason, because the services have been established where they are. So again, we did refer this out to the other internal referral agencies, didn't really hear anything back. The fire department still doesn't support setback variances in these higher density areas. But yeah, this is one for lot 18 from 6 meters to 3 meters and 6.49 meters, and staff's recommending that it be issued.
All right, so we've got 22-140. We're just looking at all of the different recommendations, 22-143. And then we got 22-144, and then we got 22-145. Do you want to have each one of these dealt with individually, or would you like to block them
Yeah, no, I think individually is probably best,
individually?
and if council wants to make the decision on this one, I can.
Okay, all right. Councillor Malmus, do you have any comments on this?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the picture, there's nothing there. And we're always being told, that part of the thing is with the dealer, well, by the response to Planning Development Committee recommendation, the following was received from the owner. The dealer is already has the services placed in the ground, so the dealer put them in the ground, knowing where the lot lines were. And as the chair for the Planning and Development Committee, we want to see development, but they should not be here for variance for this. As Scott said, that was our question. Move it over and be on the lines. We amended a lot of the setbacks, and we made some recommendations for the new MC4, that was called, or MC4, mobile home, MH4. Am I getting close?
MHP one.
Yeah, so, and staff has taken them into consideration based on some of the amendments that we had to work on for some of these lots in particular. That would go forward to and reflect on anybody going to do a mobile home park. So the idea is that to save staff the aggravation of having to prepare a report and to have it not come to the Planning and Development Committee, because there's other things that need to be done for 50 centimeters. It's not there yet. It's not on block. I can't help it that the dealer doesn't know where his own drain is in his mobile home that he built. I don't see where we have the obligation of it. And I'm not against them plugging it down, and I don't see that when it's 3 feet in the air, if the pipe's at this or if it's like this, I'm missing that point. So my recommendation and the chair and from the planning development committee, we asked why. We were in agreement that why they don't move it over. And this is their explanation, which it's like a guy gets a lot and he wants to build a house. What we did this afternoon. He wants to be offset more than even what the new zoning bylaws allow. So at some point, we have to adhere to our own zoning bylaws or we're just gonna be doing this every day. So personally, I hope I can get the support of council that they move it so it fits on the lines that were drawn. We allowed that to go from 6 meters to 2 meters. So there's a 4-meter space between. So that was a lot of talking back in over months. So that's gonna be what's in the new mobile home park rules. So if we start giving variances today, we're just gonna keep doing it.
All right, thanks, Councillor Mamas. Councillor Bushel, you're up, and then Councillor McCabe, do you have a comment? Yeah, okay, you're next.
Yeah, through the chair. I mean, this is a recommendation by staff to approve this, but the 3 letters we have are really not, they're all drainage issues. Do we have a drainage issue problem over there? Scott, do you know, like, is it draining onto the other people's property? 3 letters kind of indicate that there's a drainage issue problem. They're not really worried about the setback, but I know, I appreciate where Jeff's coming from, but I was just concerned about the letters that we have.
Chair, I don't like, I think you can ask the owners if there is an issue. I don't think there's any issue of water moving from, this property to the other property. But there is a drainage plan and it hasn't been followed. So I think that's just, the idea is they submit a plan, why not follow the plan? I think that's more the issue. I don't think anybody's getting flat out of this time. I mean, the buffer certainly has not been created. There's been no effort to plant vegetation along the buffer, which, could contribute to that, just looking at, bare earth, if those trees could provide a little bit of a buffer for drainage as well.
Well, taking into account it's a brand new subdivision. I know they just started planting cedars on some lots. Have we talked to Derek Craig and said, listen, I mean, I don't recall ever talking about a ditch. I do recall a black chain link fence and cedars. I never knew anything about a ditch, but I was just curious, if we're talking to Greg and saying, are you going to hook up to your drainage, plan, or where are we at with that? I was just curious if we've talked to him about it.
So I haven't addressed it with him.
Councillor McCabe.
Yeah, well, my question was the same as Councillor Bushel's. Basically, the correspondence we have here in hard copy from Scott and Heather McDonald are asking to not issue this variance request and the other 2 until the drainage issue with the cedar hedging, the buffering and the ditch is resolved. So my question is, did they have a legitimate request? I mean, can we say, your development permit says you're supposed to address the drainage, you haven't, so it's impacting current residents because they can't plant their garden and stuff like that. Can we say, can we hold off on these, defer them until they address deficiencies in their application with us?
Go ahead, Scott.
I mean, I think it would be quite easy to withhold building permits, seeing that they haven't met their development permit. It'd be quite easy to hold building permits and say, no, we're not issuing any more building permits on this property until you meet your requirements of development permit. Certainly, council can choose not to issue these permits or choose to defer these permits until those are addressed.
Or the variances,
Correct? Yeah.
as in these here.
Yes.
So we could
Go ahead.
comply with this request then.
Absolutely. It's council's prerogative.
Councillor Evans and Councillor Mamas.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to see the developer stick to the plan that was originally given and promised, and I'd like to see, before I would vote yes for these variances, I'd like to see the action of these trees go in and Once that's started, I'd be happy to approve these. I don't want to hold up the other folks that are waiting, but it's just, we got to do things properly.
Counselor Momus?
I understand. That's why I never mentioned the letters. There's one of the sites that is actually on that property where the buffer's supposed to be put in. So they have people that have spent money on a unit. They've got it, they've already got their building. This is a variance. They've already got their building permit, correct?
So which one?
All of them. This is to vary. They've already basically submitted it and have the building. That's why they have the unit being built, isn't it?
So the two on the, you know, the right side of the screen, I'll say, those units have been placed. They have building permits issued for the units. I believe the one on the left, it's not there yet, but I imagine the unit has a building permit. It's the decks. They're waiting for the building permit.
Okay, so then I would suggest that the units are there and you have that one, and I'm not in favor of giving it a variance. It has to fit within the lot because it does fit within the lot. But that there's no more issued until he addresses that drainage for the trees. So he's stopped after that point. So, but I hate to see people that have spent money on it being held ransom over something that the developer didn't do. That's not their fault, really. They don't even own the lot, they're just renting the lot, but they've spent a couple $100,000 on a unit to put on the property, and now they're not allowed to. But the rest of those lots that don't have anything on it, if the developer doesn't do it, we need to send a letter to them until you actually do that drainage and put in what was you were supposed to do. There will be no more permits issued.
All right. Counselor Anderson and Counselor Bushel.
I agree with everyone. I don't think that, I think that he needs to take care of the cedars and the fence and the drainage issue before anything else. But I think also feel that you should give him a timeline. This isn't something that you need to take care of this and then we can move forward. Have a timeline, because you know what, you're absolutely right. People have paid money. They're waiting to get in. They've got lives to carry on with. And I don't want him holding them hostage because he made a commitment to these things before he started his next process, his next piece of property. So, and I agree, we shouldn't start issuing variances before there's even a building in place. So I think we're opening a can of worms. People need to, you know, pay attention to their guidelines.
Counselor Bushel, you're next.
Yeah, like I said earlier, development in progress. I mean, they're, you know, it's a trailer. You can put the piping anywhere you want it. But we can, you know, two of them are already in place. One's probably, as usual, probably arriving tomorrow. But you can just withhold the occupancy permit so that, you know, he has to do the landscaping and he has to do the drainage plan. Or nobody lives there, and that'll smarten them up in a hurry.
Timeline.
But you're penalizing the person.
Right?
You're penalizing the person where if you don't allow any further units to be brought in, then you're penalizing the developer.
He needs a timeline.
No, he needs a timeline.
It's a timeline.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments? Now we're in the middle of the resolution here and we've got a mover and a seconder on it. So any other comments at this stage? Counselor Malmus, and
I'd go along with the recommendation, blah, 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 that they get to put it on there, the thing, but they need to make it fit on the setbacks that are there. That building can be put within the box that's drawn on the property. And I don't know what the wording for that is, Scott, help me, you know?
go ahead.
So I mean, if they can make the buildings fit within the building footprint or the building envelope, they wouldn't need a variance.
That's right.
Yeah. So right now, they're applying to vary it if they can move it over I think it's 50 centimeters. It should be able to fit, I believe. And they do have 50 centimeters on the other side, so.
So Councillor Malmas, what are you recommending when it comes to
That I'm going to say that I'm not going to vote in favor of it. Because this is a variance where they don't need a variance if they put it within the building envelope. So
do you want to amend this or do you just
I'm
go?
against it.
Okay. All right. Any other comments? Go ahead, Councillor McKay.
Yeah, I just want to be clear if I'm not sure if I'm understanding this. So there's three resolutions. The first one we're dealing with right now is from the staff, not from the planning and development committee. So isn't this variance for a shed and the deck, not the actual building?
Correct.
So why are we talking setbacks when are we talking about moving the dwelling when this variance is for a shed and a deck?
So if you look at the building on the this dotted line is like the building envelope where they can build without any variances. And as you see the deck, so if they move the whole unit back here by 50 centimeters, they can then have the deck. They wouldn't need the variance for the deck, so the idea is to move it back, draw back, and shed it back.
Okay, thank you. So the deck is considered and it requires a building permit, and so does the shed or building permit, but we're not talking about that. We're just talking about the variance in the setback to allow the deck. So the deck would need a variance and also a building permit?
So right now, the deck would require a building permit and you'd require to vary the setback.
Okay, I got it. Okay, thank you.
Through the chair. Alternatively, they could narrow the deck, leave the building where it is.
Well, unfortunately, I like your idea of making sure it fits on the lot.
Well, it wasn't, all they have to do is narrow the deck by the 2 feet and it's gonna give you the same result. It fits in the building envelope. That's a corner lot, so there's site supposed to be maintained. So I'm saying if we start this and if you look at it, the shed is the shed is actually inside the building envelope. It doesn't need a variance. I don't know why it's even listed there. Is there? Because it's inside that building envelope. So it's just the deck that's in question. So either shorten the deck or move the whole structure over.
Councillor,
Vote not in favor of this.
Councillor,
Through the chair, well, I can see that they're asking about the shed here because the zoning only allows for one accessory building and all three of these variance permits are asking for more buildings, which like sound a little like Councillor Malmas here, but why does the zoning only allow for one accessory structure? If we're gonna have three of these on this list right now, we're gonna see half of the other properties on here in the next month. So I'm inclined to not vote in favor of any of them and take a little bit harder look at blanket zoning the whole property or not, as I think we've done before. Already done.
So because of, I'm not sure if it was this site or another site out there, and their request, it might have been this site that's backed onto the existing. We can't come up with a basically percentage coverage where that's the same as the residential, that's what's in the new zoning bylaw, so a deck and a shed is allowed. Like if you go to the ones that are existing where the people purchase, they have a shed, they have a carport, some of them, they have a deck. Those are elevated, you gotta put stairs in, so why would you not put a deck in? So that's in the works, it's just not completed yet, but when I became the chair of the Planning and Development Committee, I said that it's not our job if you got a blank piece of dirt. You have the capability to build within that allotted space, regardless of if it's a house, residential lot, a trailer, whatever. So staff and planning and development committee have better things to do than sit here and go through 12 variances. So I guess I would like to change this. I would like to say that, because the shed is conforming, it's within the block, so that blah, blah, blah. The only thing that's left in it is for and for a shed, and section 303 is accessory residential building. For a deck and a shed, we'll approve that, but we're not gonna approve the setback. I don't know, how would you word that, Scott? Please.
So you'd allow the shed, I guess. I'm just gonna go back and forward to the resolution. I guess you'd just say, change it to exclude from 6 meters to 3.49 meters for a deck. Just exclude that, and then so it would be, the permit would be issued for accessory residential buildings and from 6 meters, 3 meters for a shed.
Yeah, basically just take out the from 6 meters to 3.49 for the deck.
Do you want to make that motion?
Just to hang on a second, we've got a motion on the floor.
So if he wants to make an amendment, then.
So
he
we
needs
could
to
either
move
make an
that.
amendment or we could vote on this motion and put together another recommendation, but maybe we should just do the amendment. Then we can deal with it.
Which would be to strike out from 6 meters to 3.49 meters for a deck
Yes.
and the word and.
Okay, that's the amendment. Do I have a seconder on the amendment? Counselor Anderson. Okay, I'm gonna call a question on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment? Okay. Fine. Okay, now we've got the resolution on the table as amended. Okay, any other comments on this? I'm hearing none. I'm going to call a question on the resolution as amended. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay, it's carried. Thank you. Okay, now let's go into the second one. Right, the recommendation into place. I'm gonna have Scott comment on it, and then we'll get into this amendment thing. So development variance permit application number 22-144 DVP 1705 Hillier. Okay, I'm not going to ask for a mover on this, but I'm going to read out the recommendation that the Planning and Development Committee recommend that the District of Sycamoose issue development variance permit number 22-144 DVP to vary Sycamoose zoning bylaw number 101/1993, section 603-4 setback for accessory residential building from 6 meters from all property lines to 1.96 meter from the exterior side of the property line for a deck. Okay, Scott, give us a down on this one and we can decide.
So this one is right on the corner. So as you enter on Hillier Road, this is the paved driveway. So standing on the sidewalk of Hillier Road. So this one was one that was building permit was issued for the mobile unit when the building official went out for the final inspection. There was a deck and there was no permit issued for the deck. It was just built with a permit. I think there was maybe a mix up somewhere between when the person applied for the mobile home. They wanted to have the deck and no one informed the district, and they built it within the required setback. So this one, again, is supposed to be 6 meters from the property line. It's within 1.96 meters of the property line, so within 2 meters. And this is an exterior roadway, like the other one, an exterior roadway where there's that greater setback. And staff's recommending that this one be issued to vary it from 6 meters to 1.96 meters.
All right. Comments or questions from council? Councilor Evans.
Would it be okay to go back to that photo? Yeah, so that deck's already been built that we're voting on?
Correct.
Councilor Malmus, go ahead.
So again, the unit, I can't see the dotted line for that, but it looks like the unit is set. It's set to the original thing that was talked about, wasn't it, Scott, where they were to be a minimum of 3 meters between, so they had to be 6 meters, so they had to be 3 meters off their sideline. Is that correct? They didn't apply because that building is also too close.
So it is different for the buildings and the accessory buildings.
Okay,
So I believe the, yeah, I'd have to look, see where the building could be. It is slightly different, but the building was within the building envelope required when the building permit was issued.
yes. So that's why, that's where their door is, so. I'd just like to make it perfectly clear that if the deck hadn't been there and it hadn't been already all done, and it was before we started making an amendment to how what was allowed amenities. Because that's been the ongoing concern, was the allowed amenities. Right now, you could have one thing, you could have a carport, or you could have a deck, or you could have a shed. You can't have all three. The new zoning bylaw basically says coverage of the footprint. So that's the same as you get for a residential lot. So these are people that they may be renting the land, but this is the new affordable for somebody that wants their own space on their own lot. And so most people want to have a little shed and they want to have a little deck and they want to have possibly a carport because most people have a car and most people have a barbecue. So I'm just going, you have to give them some conveniences of, because this is a new building. This is what's going to be the building. So we tried to come up with something that made everything work, that gave people amenities that you would have, because this is their home. They're not moving this most likely. So I don't agree with that deck being where it is, but it's built. And the builder was put in the wrong place, but that was, the builder was basically put within inside the envelope that was allowed at the time.
Councillor Anderson and Councillor Bushel.
I don't agree where the deck is either. I find it very close to the road allowance, almost dangerously close to the main road. And okay, so mistake was made, but how are we preventing that from happening again? Like, okay, we've got one mistake. Let's, it's their home, it's money, I understand, but how do we stop any other oopses from happening?
Go ahead, Scott.
I mean, we came up with an agreement early on with this park when, the fire chief, building official and myself, one of the builders and the owner went out there and we came up with a plan where they were going to submit a drawing that it would be the same drawing and they'd add to it every time. So we know everything's going. And in this case, we had the building permit for the unit on lot 7 and we issued the building permit and it was a surprise when the building official went out there and there's a deck added on. If it was stairs would be exempt, but because it's a deck, they're not. So how do we stop it from happening? I don't know what more we can do other than, agree on what drawing they're submitting and require building permits. This could happen again, hopefully not.
Go ahead, Colleen, and then Councillor Bushel.
So I think the message that we're sending right now is, okay, if you don't get your building development, if you don't get your permit, just go ahead and we're just going to approve it anyway, because it's done. So there has to be something, there has to be a trigger in there that says, you know what, moving forward, if you're building your deck and it doesn't belong there, it's going to be pulled out. So I don't know what that looks like. So, but oopses and then we just check.
All right, Councillor Bushel, then Councillor Malmus.
Through the chair, I think this is an honest mistake. I don't know if Scott can tell us, but we have been trying to work with a developer and he's been in lots and it is in trying times. You go to not a draftsman or whoever and say, I want a deck drawing, because that's what we require. We require a deck drawing. Well, they look at it and it's, it's $1,000 or whatever to draw it up. Should only be about 100, but that's what it costs to do it. So it's gonna be added on to the affordable housing building. So he cannot find anybody to draw them. So we went out and we found somebody to draw. We found somebody for him to draw these decks for him. So that's just happened in the last couple of weeks and he's really happy with the person. That's the local guy in town that's doing drawings. So that's good. And then we asked for his strata rules and plans. And I think there's a communication breakdown between the salesperson and the developer and the owner. And, so we're helping them. And now they've given us their strata rules and we talking about, we can have one or the other. And now we're talking about a site coverage. So hopefully we can take his strata rules and say, now you're only allowed this size of deck, you're only allowed, has to be within this envelope, can't be outside. That's got to go into the sales agreement. And the salesperson has to know this. And same with the home builder and same with the developer. So we're trying our darndest, hey, Scott? And we're almost there. Maybe the new bylaw will be passed.
Councilor Malmus and Councilor Evans.
It's just been a painful process, because like I said, this is the new home. Because the average house is 500,000 plus, and there's people that are moving to this town and they're moving here, they're retiring, or there's young families out there as well with kids. So that's the affordability, and that's what we want in our community. We want some young families and some kids and maybe some people that are work here. And so double wide is 400,000 plus. Single wide is 200,000 plus. And so by the time you do that, you want a deck and you want this, you want the same things as a lot of people have in a house, but houses just aren't that affordable anymore. So this is the new house. And so we worked and tried to create a zoning bylaw that would allow them to have similar to a house. So on a house, residential lot in Sycamore, is it 40% as well for residential lot, Scott? Yeah. So if you got a 10,000 square foot lot, you can have 4,000 square foot of coverage. That's it. So we did the same thing with this, and we tried to make it that's the way it's going to be, but there was some oops that's going along and we're all close now. We think it's going to work out, but it was better that us create the rules for it than wait for, because each trailer park has their own rules. They're supposed to create them, but we decided, okay, we'll just create them for all of them going forward, because Kylo's got that property, the 2 acres or 4 acres, where that's what they have to build on it as well. So it was part of their ALR deal. So,
All right, thanks. Councilor Evans, and I'm gonna get this resolution on the table.
Yeah, I really appreciate what these guys are doing and to make this work. And I would never want to deny anybody comfort of a deck and a place to park the car and a place for the kids to play. It's just, I think we just need to give it some time. This is a bumpy process, but I think it's coming together, and we'll sort it out.
All right. All right, so I read the resolution. I need a mover on it. Councilor Malmus, seconded by Councilor Anderson. All right, any other comments on this? Okay, I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Councilor Aries is opposed. Okay,
good for you.
the resolution is carried. All right, okay, let's go on to the next one now. So we'll handle it the same way. So we're looking at development variance permit application number 22-145 DVP. There's a recommendation that the district of Sycamore issue development variance permit number 22-145 DVP to vary district of Sycamore zoning bylaw number 101/1993, section 603, set side back from 6 meters to 1.5 meters for a shed and a section 603 from 1 to 3 accessory residential buildings for a carport, shed and deck. Okay, before I get a mover on this, Scott, give us a report on this as well.
So this one is kind of the last unit in the first phase. And if you look straight down, you can see the fence at the back, and then that's where that 1 meter buffer should be. So this influences the people who live next door. So this one is, you know, your typical unit where they're gonna want a carport, a deck, and a shed. So right now, they'd have to vary that because they can only have one of them, so they want to vary it to allow 3 of them. And then also at the back of the property, they want to put the shed within 1.5 meters of the property line, which in most zones are allowed that setback within 1.5 meters. But because this is an exterior parcel line that you're sharing with a neighbor, in this mobile home park, then they'd have to get that variance from 6 meters to 1.5 meters. The previous 2 variances would have allowed it within 4 meters, but yeah, they'd still be within that. They haven't built anything yet. I'd have to check. I know they've applied for a building permit for the carport. I'd have to check both the deck and the shed to be sure. But yeah, they're looking to vary that setback, which would actually be a setback that you'd see in a typical residential zone for an accessory building. And then, yeah, you can see that that area just back where they're supposed to provide that buffer. So the storm drainage, see that dotted line that they have, that's the storm drainage. It is off that meter buffer area. And again, staff's recommending that this permit be issued.
All right, Councilor Mullins.
So this is the back layout of what we thought should be allowed on any of those units. So they got the carport, the deck, and they make the percentage. I'd like to make an amendment to this. And this one's going to cause problems because I think these were the people that were in here having some issues before, but because of that shed or that drainage pipe and the digging that will on if it's not in, you know if that drainage line is in, Scott?
So it wouldn't be a pipe, and it's actually there, and it's not gonna be a ditch either. Basically, the grade of the whole park is supposed to go away from that property line or follow that property line to that park in the corner. And as far as I know, like, I think you can ask the people here. I don't think there's water running from 1705 to 1707. But the developer, as these lots are created, needs to make sure the grade is always moving away from that property line. So there's no structure that's going to be there, just the landscape buffer. And it should, you know, the engineer has said it should work that way. There is a steep grade change in elevation, but all the water shouldn't flow off and onto the next property. It should flow down like that.
So through the chair, can I ask are you having a water issue onto your properties?
Yes, actually, and I do agree that you know, I mean, there's no continual flow of water, but the rainstorm we have, I mean, with their drain spouts off the back of their unit, it does all flow onto our property, it won't sit on our property because it'll dry out, but it does run. The water, they're probably 1705 where I live is at least 2 feet higher than my property. Now fellows saying they don't really need a ditch, but they do need to establish drainage because it's flat for about 150 feet from Hilliard Road, like it's flat land. And so in order, how do you drain flat land? You gotta do something to get it to drain. And my largest concern is the fact that the setbacks aren't really relevant to me in the sense, but in this particular unit, with the 1 meter buffer And it being 1.5 meters away, if they even adhere to what the grading plan was with a 2-to-1 slope, with it being the 2-to-1 slope would take out a minimum of 2 meters from the property line, right? Right now, it's about a 4-to-1 slope there, is what it is. And all the water from the rear of the units drain onto our properties. Like, well, it's just that we're lower. That's what I'm saying. It's not a continual water flow. We got lower property. Now, the other issue is, for me, is their concern is that they do put in trees, which is fine, but you know what? If they don't establish a good watering system, what do we have? I mean, we got a bunch of dead trees and nobody's looking after them. Right now, it's full of weeds. And then the whole development of 1705, it's all full of weeds. Like, I'm not talking, it's not all full of weeds, but the perimeter, like our buffer, is full of weeds, as well as on the street. It's the development itself doesn't look after what they're responsible for until they turn it over to the city. Right now, city operations don't come in there and even cut the grass on the boulevards and stuff because it's still the developers issue. They've taken it and curved and did some work from the curve at Hillier to their property line. And they tore up sprinkler systems and everything else, which was just laying there. And nobody's come in to really take a look at it or even attempt to repair it. And as of this summer, like I say, city operations, I don't think it's their responsibility. It'll come down that far. Now, the trees that have been planted along the road also don't have any water, right? Along this subdivision, we're not getting any water. And already. What else do I have a concern with? Drainage is my largest issue, including the problems.
And through the chair, like, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're responsible for the water within your property. It's not supposed to go to somebody else's property. Is that not correct?
Go ahead, sir.
You know, if you're talking about common law, then yeah, you can't do something on your property that negatively impacts someone else's property. I think the drainage right now, as this project is building out, will eventually take care of itself. You know, as soon as this whole property has grass and some vegetation. I think council gave me some direction that, you know, you want me to address this with the developer now and say, you know, you'd revive that landscape buffer. And I think he needs to maybe get somebody in there and look at the grading plan and make sure the grading plan is working the way it should. Obviously, Irwin, it's not working the way it should. So I think, you know, I've gotten lots of feedback from council that it's a priority for them. I don't think this shed and this location is gonna affect the drainage plan in any great way. But I definitely think the owner has work to do.
Yeah. Jeff?
Well, I'm good with that. If as long as staff is gonna, because Gordon and I personally have spent some time talking with Greg Darrell and said, you know, you gotta do this. And we came up with this as basically, you got a single wide that size of lot. This is your coverage and this is what you're gonna get allowed to do. And you don't have to come for a variance permit. So if they all did that, but as far as his deal is with the neighboring property with Hillier Road and that, he needs to fix that. So staff's gonna address it then and issue, not bring any more permits for any more new buildings until he actually does it, then that'll maybe get it moving a little faster.
Go ahead, Councilor Harris.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'm wondering, planning variance from 6 meters to 1.5 meters. Is that landscaping buffer 1 meter of that space? Correct. So that shed could potentially be 0.5 meter from the landscaping buffer.
Correct.
I could see how the fire department might have a legitimate complaint with that.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, through the chair, if you go to R1 zoning, that's what you're allowed. That's all we're trying to do is make it that we don't have 15 different rules so that, okay, I want to build this over here. Well, I got it, then we have this over here. If you have a residential lot, even the lots that parks to, they have the same setback. So we just tried to make that equal because they're smaller homes. You're trying to get the same amount of amenity on a smaller lot with a smaller square footprint. And so that was the rationale for doing it.
I see. If I could go ahead with that to Jeff or other people. What's different about this then is that there's a setback around the whole perimeter of 1705, but also a setback around each individual property.
Yeah.
Correct? So in that way, this is different from an individual property like at Parksville, right? Because they wouldn't be required to have a 1 meter buffer along the edge of it, which in my mind, the 1 meter buffer does affect the placement of a shed when it's that close to the buffer. Maybe I'm not the master, but definitely not. I appreciate hearing to that point if it's actually not something to worry about.
Go ahead, Scott.
Thank you. So yeah, the mobile home park is a little different because there's kind of a boundary around the entire park that, you know, you have to provide that landscape buffer from other residential properties. Then you're also looking at each mobile home site individually and the setbacks from the mobile home site lines. So you're dealing with two different setbacks. In this particular case, it's an exterior line. But if this unit was in the middle of 1705, they could put it at 1.5 meters.
All right, so again, Mr. Malmus, being that you're the chair of the planning committee, are you okay with this particular recommendation then? Did you want to amend it a bit?
No, I'm good with it as it is. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I need a mover on the recommendation. Go ahead.
Just make note that he is using the new drafts person now, and you know, you can see the drawings are coming a lot better and one step at a time with the,
Okay,
right, it's coming.
all right, so I read the resolution. I need a mover on it. Councillor Bushell, seconded by Councillor Malmus. Okay, any other comments on this? Go ahead, Bob.
I have to say that I want to vote no on this to spur the owner of the mobile home park, Mr. Darrell, to fix the drainage problem, but I understand the whole situation is very awkward, but it's I hope that he gets on that because we're talking about just doing things that he said he'd do, like the cedars, get them done.
All right, thanks, Bob. You got 2 minutes, okay, we're gonna call the question, go ahead, because this is important for you.
All I'm saying is, there's a number of properties involved and I mean, it's stressful for even all the newer people moving in to try to figure out what to do with their property because the developer never did finish it to what he said he was going to do. And so what I'm trying to say is everybody's there trying to, you know, they don't know what. It would make it a lot easier if he were to go in there and deal with this drainage issue. And it'd make it easier for everyone, is what I'm saying. New people moving in as well as the existing people there.
Okay, thank you for that. All right. Councillor Malmus and Councillor Evans, and I'm gonna call a question on the resolution.
And we understand that. That's why we're kind of directing staff to say, don't come with any more permits for anything to build or building permit on any lot until you actually address that.
It's much appreciated. What I'm hearing is very.
But I don't want to interfere. These people, particularly with this unit, they were in here in tears.
I know, and I got no objection to what they're doing.
I mean, they paid for the unit. They just want to move in and live in it. So, and it is their home.
Yep.
So, you know, and residences are getting hard to find. So I don't want to, because the developers made a poo-pah, I don't want to, I'd like to see these people get in their place, but I don't want to see any more happen until he addresses some of these other issues and staff's aware of them. So, thank you.
Very challenging. Bob, you got last word.
What he said.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna call the question on the resolution. All those in favor? Whoa. Aye in the
Good job, Brian.
Are you moving out there?
All right, well, I'll tell you what. He's voting his conscience. You've got to respect that. All right, anyway, the resolution is carried and thanks for your input. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening. Are we gonna call for comments from the gallery yet?
On the what?
Are you gonna call from any questions or comments from the gallery?
We did already.
We did that earlier.
On this,
Yeah, they just asked. He didn't speak for all of us, he just wanted to speak for himself.
Okay, well, we did ask for questions or comments from the gallery about, I think about around 6 o'clock, so.
Okay, we could hardly hear. I don't know if you're using microphones, but I guess we just didn't hear.
We got a few other things that we got to look after and then I'll give you the floor. Okay. Okay, so moving on, unconstructed, unmaintained road access agreement 202 Sunset Drive. There's a recommendation that the District of Sycamore Council approve unconstructed, unmained road right-of-way access agreement with the property owners of 202 Sunset Drive. Scott.
Thank you. So this is a situation, it's up in Bayview, the Bayview subdivision, where the road, like when the developer constructed the subdivision, the road, as you can see, stops before it actually reaches the property line. So typically in a subdivision, you require the road to be built right to the edge of the property. So then, you know, it can be continued onto the next property if necessary. And in this particular case, the way the house has been constructed, the driveway is actually right in front of the unconstructed portion. So the owner asked Daryl and I to go up and meet with them, and they wanted to have the road finished, or they want to, you know, money out of their own pocket, put down some gravel so they have a place that they can turn off the road right of way onto their property. Here you can see the area identified. So this is kind of where their house has been constructed within this envelope. This is where their garage would be. And the pavement of Sunset Lane or Sunset Drive actually ends right there. So they're asking for permission to improve this and use it. We wrote up a document, unconstructed and unmaintained road access agreement. Basically, it allows them to improve it as long as it's approved by Daryl essentially. And then, you know, in the future, if, you know, the council chooses to budget to pay for the rest of the road, or if, you know, there's another subdivision that could be constructed and he loses his right to use that access. And he might be online. Bev Callis, I don't know if he's on the line or not, but yeah, he agreed to this and he just would like to use it to access his property.
All right. Comments or questions, Councillor Malman, then Councillor Bushel.
So is he using it to access his garage, or is he gonna use it to park his truck and sled trailer on as like his extra parking lot? Because that section in the winter time, they push the snow down there. They can't push it off the end of the little parking lot that's beside the house there. Now they have to actually pull it out, I think. So they got to go someplace with the snow. So I'd be very cautious about, you know, if it was a road like every place else up in Bayview, he would drive in there and pull into his driveway and into his garage. Seems to me like he's asking to use it. I'm thinking that that's going to interfere with the snow removal. So I'd like some clarity on that. If I could.
Right, so the agreement, the way it's written, it's similar to the rail trail agreement where we can get out of it at any time without any notice. So if something is occurring that we don't agree with, then we can end the agreement. All improvements would have to be approved by Public Works. I get the impression that he wants to park some things there. He is now, I think he has a boat and trailer parked there now. But he'd like to put gravel down, with access to his garage, probably, park his toys on that end of the road. If they become a problem, we at time, if council wants to include some wording in the agreement, then we can do that as well.
Go ahead, Jeff.
So through the chair, so he's. Staff has recommended that we allow this to go on, yet we know that we're gonna use that portion to push snow back on. Can I ask through the chair, Daryl? Like, because he's built the house, right, because that house is a new build. So now you pushing the snow back there is that, because that road actually, I think goes quite steep uphill at the end of it, basically, doesn't it? Or is it flat?
Flat.
As a pancake? It's on the wrong road. So are you able to do the snow removal? But if he parks vehicles there, you're not going to be able to do what you're doing with the snow right now. Correct?
Correct. Through the chair, it's not ideal from our perspective. In a perfect world, his driveway would have aligned with where the road left off. We look at it as, this is where they left off a long time ago, and does it make a lot of sense? Well, not today, it doesn't. And for his design, it didn't really, because he wanted his driveway a little further down. The solution, like Scott said, is a temporary thing where we allow him to put down some gravel for now. If we would have had a budget to support it, I would have looked at maybe extending that to where it should have been this year, but our paving season was early and we came and left pretty quick. So in the future, I'd like to see it done right so that it's not problematic for snow removal. There is that little hammerhead turnaround just before you get the end. And that's where we would stockpile at this point and probably have to remove it. We have virtually the same problem on the other end of Sunset. So it's tricky. Bayview is very tricky.
Right, Counselor Anderson and Counselor Bushel.
I think you were first. You go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, Counselor Bushel.
Yeah, through the chair, we own the property to the south, and we applied for an access permit to our property and paid for an access permit with the district of Sycamores. So I don't really support the parking of it. I know the district does plow snow onto our property and we have no problem with that. We've had issues with this development since they started building. The owner didn't come to us. The contractor came to us and asked if he could access to help to build, take down some trees, which we had no problem with, and access our property to get to where they can build on this one. And when they left, they pretty much, they destroyed the district's property pin on the corner. It was buried down, 4 or 5 feet. And we lost our reference point where the property pin was for the district. And so we paid to get it surveyed ourselves because at that time we were dealing with the builder. And so we did that, and we found out that they actually, when they built their retaining wall, they didn't put it back to where Bayview had it, or the developer had it. And it was on our property like 20 to 25 feet. So we asked the contractor to remove all the soil off our property because they did put soil rocks on our property. So we've had some issues with it. I know I went to the public hearing when it was being a development back in the early days, and in the preliminary land use agreement with the district, they were to provide services to our property line, which they never did, and then they went bankrupt. And we're okay with that. I mean, we would, if we had to pay to get services before that's paved, we would pay for it. We would help pay for it. They want to, go a third. If he wants to pay a third, the builder or the owner, and the district a third and us a third, we would help pay to get pavement to our property, but I don't think he should be parking there because the district does plow snow onto the very end of that property and on. I mean, if we ever sell or subdivide or somebody buys it and develops it, it'll be a road probably going through there because that's what it was designed for. And so access, yes, for sure, but not parking. And that's my opinion.
Okay, Counselor Anderson.
And just for reference, up at Bayview, you can't park your toys in your driveway or in front of your house. You have to have them screened back in a corner behind cedars or something like that. There is no boat and trailer parking. And that road, especially when you go up there in the winter, it is super narrow already. And I know that I know that you sometimes put the snow in the emergency pull out right before that house. And there's also the end. I guess it would be the very, very end there. But I don't think filling those spots with snow and getting back to removal is the safest idea up there because can't turn a fire truck around in there at all. So, yeah, and as far as storage, lots of places in town for storage.
Okay. Counselor McCabe.
I read the agreement, and there's nothing in there that says they have to build that to any certain standard. So if they build, they just mentioned gravel or something, but not a gravel to a certain municipal standard or a ministry highway standard or subdivision standard. Yeah, there's nothing that, if we were to approve this, there's no standard they have to build it to. They can just bring whatever material they want in there, level it off to make sure it's for use. And respectively, Councilor Bushel, if you're next door, maybe you shouldn't be voting on this. Just throwing that out there.
Conflict.
I'll decide.
Yes, it's your choice, absolutely. Yeah, so I don't agree with it for the reasons Council Bushel mentioned and Council Anderson. And it's public road. It should be for public use, not private use. Subsection C says they have to make sure it's maintained for snow removal. That's part of the condition, but that's just the responsibility of staff to go up there and remind them they have to do that. And yeah, I think it creates a headache for staff and sets a precedent for other people to think they can use public access for private use, basically.
Scott, then Jeff.
Thank you. Just to answer some of Councilor McCabe's questions. So it does in 2D, any changes or improvements to the access area, including construction or installation of utilities within the access area, must only be undertaken with the express prior written consent of the district. So we'd expect them to show us what they're going to do and we'd approve it and then we'd allow them to do that. I mean, this essentially allows them to use that to improve it and use it for access. So they can use it for access right now. However, they could come and say, hey, we want you to pave it. We want you to bring it up to a public road standard. And I'm thinking like Zapponi Road is a good example or another way we could use this, right? Where we're saying, you want to use it. We're not going to maintain it. We're not going to construct it. We're not going to take any liability for it. Anything you do, you are going to get written consent from the district for. It has to be maintained for snow removal and emergency access. So we do have that hammer if they are parking on it. Right now, it's basically turns to, mud and rock. They're going to probably continue to use it as it is, only they're not going to improve it at all. So I don't see a real negative in this because I think I think the agreement covers what the district needs, but it also gives the owner that access and the ability to improve it.
Thanks.
Jeff.
To the chair. Yeah, it gives us the right to tell them, you can't park there, you just gotta have snow removal. But what happens on that night that we get the 8 inches of snow and the crew starts at 6 o'clock in the morning. They gotta knock on his door to move his junk out of the way. I just can't abide to that when the whole development has no street parking. And we basically enforced it, but this guy's at the end of the road, so the guy at the other end of the road and the guy at the next layer at the end of the road, they're all gonna start wanting to do the same thing, so. It doesn't say in here anywhere that if blah, 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 the district has the right to have their whatever towed. Like, you gotta have a hammer in there that's basically says that if you park in there, you just fold Ben's toe and it's gone. That's his problem. But it doesn't interfere with the snow removal or whatever. Like, I just can't, I can see what the problem's gonna be, because when you're trying to clear snow off up there, they actually got no place to go with it. It's a maneuvering nightmare. And then you gotta deal with a guy who's got stuff on the road. So, and maybe it won't be there in the winter time. Maybe it's fine if you want to have it there in the summertime, but you should not be allowed to park there in the winter time, period.
Let go.
The chair, the issue is parking. You know, he needs access to his garage and he should be able to drive on it and have access to his garage. It's when the word says parking on the staff report. It doesn't say parking in the agreement, but it does say parking on the staff report. The district, you know, it's parking. If he parks there, he's blocking the access that the district gave me to my property, to Brenda and I's property. So, you know, you can't, it would be like somebody parking in front of your garage. And then the district giving them approval to park, you couldn't get into your garage. It's the same thing. We've applied for an access permit to our property, paid for it, and he shouldn't be allowed to park on a district road. He should be able to allow access to his garage and do that, but he shouldn't be allowed to park on that access road. That's basically what it is. And then as for the hammerheads, you know, the district paid to go put a whole bunch of hammerheads, no parking signs, fire turnaround, like a turnaround zone for a fire truck. That one was removed in between those two homes. So, you know, it becomes a parking lot. So.
All right, so what are we gonna do with this? I haven't got a mover or a seconder on this resolution. So where do you want to go with this then?
Let's vote on it.
Go ahead, Gordon.
I would make recommendation to staff, take out the parking for sure, and you know, like the districts, like we don't have a problem with the district plow snow on our property because we're not using it up there. If we ever put a road in there, yeah, it might be a problem, but if he parks his vehicles there, they can't even plow snow there because he needs to get access into his garage. So no parking. And maybe it comes back to council or you just amend it. It doesn't matter to me, but.
We could either amend this so that we can deal with it today, or we can back to Scott to bring back to the next council meeting, either or. Jeff, go ahead, and then Councillor Evans.
After
Resolution of this.
Councillor Bushel, and I mean, you know, it's his property at the end of that, which is fine. But, you know, it seems to be in this community that if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it is a duck, even though that's not what the zoning says. But if you make a road parking, then when anybody wants to get through there with, even though they got the access, you're gonna have a fight on your hands. It's like 200 Main Street is not a park, never was a park. Main Street Landing is not a park, never was a park. So if you make this parking on the road, it's gonna be parking and it's never gonna be a road again. So that just seems to be how the outfall comes out of it. So I'm not for this at all. I'm for him having access to get to his garage, but parking, no, I'm not for that.
All right. Councillor McCabe.
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with Councillor Bushel and Councillor Malmus and Councillor Anderson. I mean, it's a public road, it's for public use. You need public access. If he does need that road extended for access to his garage, I think we should vote this down and just suggest that Scott talks to him again about a different application regarding access for his garage.
I don't have this resolution on the table yet.
Oh, right.
It's never been, we haven't got a mover on it or a seconder on it. That's why we wanted to have a discussion on this first. Okay.
Well, then to finish my comment, I would say
We can take this
on the staff for
read it
redo.
back in the staff hands if we wish. Counselor Evans, you want to have a comment?
Just to clarify, to do that, do we have to have any move to table the motion?
No, we haven't,
No motion
there's no
on the
motion
table.
on the table yet.
Thank you.
So Scott, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna leave this back in your hands and you can bring this back to council with maybe a different recommendation. As you heard the concerns of the council. Okay, thank you. All right, so is your comments or questions regarding Hillier Road? Okay, well then I'm gonna let you have the floor right now. So what was it that you were concerned with? Because we've got other things going on, but I don't want you to be sitting here waiting for the rest of it. So you give us your take. What would you like to say?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the opportunity to speak. I'm sorry we didn't just sit before, but Woody, my husband and I are residents of the development adjacent to the mobile home park. And you probably recall that before the park went in, we had a lot of concerns and attended a lot of meetings here. And we were assured that we had nothing to worry about when it comes to development. The mobile home park would have the same kind of standards that we had. And that doesn't appear to be the case. They said, and one of the councillors here mentioned their strata rules. And if they're the same as ours, they're definitely not being adhered to because we have a lot rules in our strata that say no big dogs, and there are German shepherds, Labradors, and a pit bull in that development. The common property along Hilliard Road, just across from the storage units, is deplorable. There are weeds that are probably 3 to 4 feet high. One of our concerns was that our property values would go down, and we were sure that wouldn't happen because of these high standards that were supposed to be maintained. Then it's just not happening. So we also promised that there would be a distinct property buffer to make a distinction between that development and ours. And it's been amended, so they're closer, and now they're asking for more amendments to be closer. It just doesn't sit well, I guess. And we're also supposed to have a buffer of a line of trees that went all along the chain link fence that was installed. And our strata did contact the developer, and he said it would be done in June, and we have absolutely no evidence of that happening. So we do still have the same concerns, and just would like to make that known.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So we now recognize your concerns, and so we'll hand that back over to our planner, and we'll see whether or not we can get some of those concerns rectified as well. So thank you. Yeah, thanks. All right, so thanks for that. And I thought we'd give you the opportunity to speak on that because we got other things going on here. So, right, let's go on to the next thing. Development permit number 22082 DP and development variance permit number 22082 DVP. This is on Highway 97A. I think Scott, give us a report on this as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is a application to replace a marina, so a development permit is required and a development variance permit is also applied for. So this is on Highway 97A, I believe it's Bona Vista, name of the development. There is an existing, you can see the hatched area is the new lease area. And you can see just behind it, there's an existing marina there. So it is designated marine in the official community plan that supports dock and marina development. And it's the S2 zone, which a marina is a permitted use. Here we have the 36 slip marina replacement. It includes a raised walkway and a ramp with floating section, and then there's an existing log breakwater right now, and that would need to be removed. And then move the whole thing out into deeper water to try and meet the new regulations. One of the variances that they need is to vary the proposed area for the marina. Because they have to move it out into deeper water, they have to create a bigger release area, and the bylaw requires a maximum of 50%. And with this increased area, it'd be 56.7% of the upland parcel. And then they're also going out further. So the zone requires only 50 meters in length, and because they have to go into deeper water, it'd be 63 meters in length. And they need that to get out into the deeper water, so it doesn't ground at low water. They don't require any piles. It's going to be done with anchors and anchor lines. And then this was spread out for engagement. We're changing our use of the word consultation, has more formal connotations, I guess. So we're going to go with engagement. We learned that just recently. But we did refer it out to the Adams Lake Indian Glen and Swatcheen First Nation. And we did meet with them on Monday. Sarah and Steffi did. And although they didn't respond formally, because they have to go through a section 11 with the province has to consult with them. So they said they're okay with us moving forward without their official comments. Planning Development Committee recommended that it be issued. No objections from Building Inspection Bylaw. Fire Chief, we didn't get a response from. The engineering technologist did respond. He actually responded before they made the application to us. And that was because we have a statutory right of way for the sewer line that goes around that corner. And the log breakwater actually interfered with that, so that's why they removed that log breakwater. So we have our staff recommending that this development variance permit be issued. The main reason is to meet the new regulations. They still have to go through that section 11, and the variance is those because they're required to meet those new regulations.
Okay. QEP has been deployed on this particular project.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Malmas and Councillor Bushel.
Through the chair. So, in the Rita bill, they have an envelope there, and on the first draw, they're showing the marina. The second draw, they've added a breakwater to the southwest side. And then, because in the first draw, they only have anchor lines coming straight out, which that's not what I would have done, but and they have off the corner of that marina and then off the corners of their breakwater, they have anchor lines. Now, I don't know what they're using for blocks, but I know that when that sewer line was put in, there's a certain portion of it that's buried, but the rest of it is exposed. So I don't know what type of blocks they're using, but if they're using the same type of blocks that we used to use, which was a 10,000 pound concrete block, it's going to bugger up that pipe. So they're close to the right of way. Not 100% sure if that sewer line was laid in and then surveyed, or if that was just the line on the page that we had drawn in and then when it was actually put in, that's where it is. I know I was down there when they put it in, and when they started to flood it, it started to flood way too fast and it didn't go exactly where they wanted it to. So I don't think that it's actually within those boundaries. So for the protection of our own services that we have there, because that sewer line service is all a 2 mile, I would suggest that they might actually want to have a diver find that pipe or get a diving crew that has a submersible. I know that there's a couple different places that have that so that they can actually locate where that pipe is. Because I know when I put anchors down, we never placed them. We just kind of kicked them off the end, but we knew there was nothing down there, nothing that we were going to hurt. So, and I'm assuming they're going to use approximately a 10,000 pound block because by the number of lines they got for the size of marina, that's going to be fairly relevant to what they're going to need to hold it in place. So I would have some concerns about where those lines are. So that's my only comment on it. Because when we looked at it, I think the only thing that we really saw through the planning development committee was the first drawing with the line straight out, which I thought there would have to be more because you have to usually cross those. Like you usually have to have, you would have 3 of them going further to the south and then 3 of them going further to the north, and then off the north, you'd have another 3 going further to the south, just because your southwest wind is the prevailing wind, and a straight out anchor line like that isn't going to hold much. It's going to allow a lot of movement. So anyway, those are just my comments.
Thank you, Councillor Malmus. Other comments? Go ahead, Gord.
Yeah, through the chair, yeah, really good points, Jeff. That would be one really important one that, you know, and this is a different application. Most applications don't have a utility underneath it, like our district sewer one. But even, I was even gonna comment, not so much on the marina part, because I hope they have divers to do all that stuff, but even the locals, there's a few locals on Man Road that are now starting to place buoys on the inside of that sewer line. And, you know, if they got their boat on there, they got some weight, and then all of a sudden they get, you know, the wind comes from some direction and it starts dragging it and it hooks our sewer line. That could cause a problem. So just, you know, just for Daryl and you guys, you know, to be aware that people are starting to put buoys out now this spring, and there's a new one out there that I just noticed the other day. So I just thought you should keep an eye on that.
Just for clarification though, Gord, when people want to put buoys out, they don't come to the district. Don't they go to province to get their buoy registered?
Yeah.
So maybe there should be a red flag at the province at whatever that says, you know what, you can't put a buoy out there because there's a utility under there. I'm just, you know what I mean? You're right. Somebody else could take out our utility as well.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Go through the chair, but between Boa Vista and Sycamore House, there are no residents. There'd be no reason for anybody to have a buoy there.
Oh, no, people on the other side of the highway, up the hill. Yeah, they either, you know, I know some people.
Daryl's applied to have a buoy there.
No, not Daryl. I don't know if Daryl, maybe it is Daryl. I shouldn't have said anything. Sorry, Dale. I don't know, but I don't know whose it is. There was some there a couple of years ago and they're not there anymore, but there's a brand new one there. I just noticed, and I don't know whose it is, but it's just something to worry
That's a
about.
good point.
Just kind of looking at the recommendation and the concerns by councilors at this stage, but I'm not quite sure whether the concerns are noted within the recommendation by staff. Is there anything about this recommendation that need to be changed from your perspective based on the concerns? Go ahead, Gord.
I don't know how they could word it, but maybe there should be some kind of diver inspection. I mean, I want the application to go through for sure. They do need a new marina, but they just got to be really cautious around the utility. That's for sure. And it's got to be done right. You know, if you do like Jeff did and you just kick a 10,000 block cement block off the back of his deck and it ends up going down, it's, if you can see the grade there, it could actually roll. And, you know, they shouldn't just be kicked off. They should be placed and made sure they're not going to roll, because they could roll down, you know, further down the lake and crush the utility.
All right.
Because they do cross over top of the utility, if you look at the maps. So they should be placed somehow. And I don't know, Scott, how you could maybe talk to the, you know, the strata and say, you know, you gonna place them or are you just gonna? Because there is a utility down there.
I guess, yeah, that's a concern. I'm just taking a look at this recommendation. So we could probably leave that back in staff's hands. But I don't think it's going to affect the actual recommendation of the resolution. Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I don't want it to affect the resolution. I just want to make sure that when staff goes back and has to comment of why it got approved, that they make sure, because that's we don't issue the permit. You gotta think about it, because I was standing right there when they put it together. I think it's a 16-inch, and it's that PVC an inch thick line. It's fairly durable stuff, but that lake bed for the first 20 feet is lush. So if you set something on top of it, you're gonna do this to that pipe. It's gonna get a dip in it. You can't even place it. You have to locate it so that they are certain where it is.
Yeah.
All right. Daryl, Scott, got any comments on this at this stage? I mean, I'm just not sure. I'm just taking a look at the recommendation. I'm not sure. I understand where councilors are and are concerned on this, but I'm just about ready to read the recommendation and get a mover and a seconder on this and deal with the resolution. But if you guys got a comment right now in regards to the concerns, then you have the floor.
Well, through the chair, I guess this could go a couple different ways. One, we could communicate to the contractor the importance of this. Maybe a little more impactful, maybe council ties this development permit approval to a layout of a plan that's, amenable to district staff, and we take that and get a good plan in front of us that we're comfortable with.
I'm almost thinking we should just, I haven't got a mover and a seconder. We probably maybe take this and digest this and then bring it back. Anyway, Councillor Malmus, go ahead.
No, we don't need to digest it, bring it back. We just need to add it to back end in support of a license renewal under the condition that they use a diving team or a submersible to locate the existing sewer services.
Okay, all right. Then you got that. Okay, Mr. Evans, go ahead.
And that the plan be approved by district staff.
Yeah, if you're gonna do it,
Yeah, go ahead.
if you're gonna do a tack on, you might as well do it. Bob suggested tack on what both Councillor Moms and Bob suggested. So an anchor plan approved by district.
Okay, Jen's been writing here, so maybe we can just adjust that. So what have you added to it?
So under the condition of a diving team to locate utility and an anchor plan approved by district staff. Do I have that correct?
Go ahead, Joe.
The district staff approving an anchor plan, like, I'm not sure you want to actually be involved in that, because all of a sudden now, if the marina blows away, they say, well, the district staff approved an anchoring plan. That doesn't fly very far, right? You want to find the location, and you want to make sure that whatever anchoring system they're using, they could be using a screw anchor into the lake bed with a chain on it. I don't know there's no detail on what the anchoring is. Most likely, I know Bert Marine, he dropped a concrete block, so. Yeah, so it is a concrete block. It's two lab blocks chained together.
Go ahead, Councillor McCabe.
Yeah, Jeff's got a good point. Instead of using the word approved, you should use the word reviewed by. Yeah, that's a good point. But they still want to see it, so reviewed is better than approved.
Okay, Jen, can you read that out?
So adding the words under the condition of a diving team to locate utility and an anchor plan reviewed by district staff.
And I'd like to suggest, if I could, to the chair, sorry.
Go ahead, we got to get this right.
Because it's along their entire side of their marina, that, if they do the location, they need to do the location of that pipeline out to the point of the middle of that curve, so almost to the end of their. And it would be good if we actually had the coordinates of it. I don't know that we ever got the coordinates of where that actual is. So is our pipe actually within that right of way? Which I know when they let that thing go, it got away on them for a certain portion. That was that right there. Because I put the piles in at the waterways property before they did their drillings because I didn't want to, because I was within 2 feet of it. I didn't want to put piles through it. So I put the piles in first. They said, if we hit your steel pipe, we'll just bounce off it with the drill. But if I hit their plastic pipe with my piles, I'm going right through it. So it would have been my ownership. But I didn't want that.
Okay. Jen, can you read out the whole resolution now?
Oh, sure. That council authorized and issue development permit number 22082 DP for the property legally described as foreshore license number 341941, adjacent to the upland property legally described as strata plan K519 located at 202 Highway 97A for the replacement of a marina, and issue development variance permit number 22082 DBP to vary section 802 2B and 802.3A in support of license renewal under the condition of the diving team to locate utility and an anchor plan reviewed by district staff.
Moved by Counselor Malmas, seconded by Counselor Evans. Any other conversation around this? All right, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. We digested that one to the max. I want to get it right. Thanks. Thanks, council.
No consulting fees on that. No charge.
I'm charging.
Oh, pardon me, Councilor Mal.
Don't speak for me.
Going on to G, temporary use permit application number 22136 TUP 1405 Southwest Sycamus Road. All right, Scott, give us the rundown on this one.
Okay, so this is an application for a temporary use permit that was initiated by staff. The existing temporary use permit for the dog park, 1450s Southwest Sycamus Road, has expired. So if the district would like to continue with those musical and cultural events, a new temporary use permit is required. Here's the a drawing showing the area that it would be approved. We've actually taken this from the ALC resolution. It allows these events until September of this year. So we haven't had any conditions to temporary use permit. We're just going to rely on the conditions in the non-farm use, and then those conditions would kind of mirror or would govern what can occur there, and then also the area. The non-farm use would be the temporary use permit area. Pretty straightforward. And I guess this would be, required. If we want to hold events there this summer, and they'll make an application to the land commission for a new non-farm use likely in the fall. And at that time, council can consider a new temporary use permit.
Thank you. All right, any comments or questions on this, Councillor McKeith?
There's one issue brought up that if you're using that or one AL agricultural land reserve site for an event, then you can't use any other agricultural land reserve anywhere for additional camping. Is there any way that when we revise this permit or apply for a renewal, that we can have that language changed, that if there's an event on here that may involve camping at that location and other alternate agricultural land reserve locations?
That's gone. So maybe we should combine the whole parcel as one.
So when we apply to the land commission for another that's the condition in the non-farm use permit from the land commission. So we apply to amend that, or we apply for a new one, we could bring that up to the land commission. And then whatever our temporary use permit, whatever conditions council wants to add to the next temporary use permit, we can add those in, but the land commission will always essentially trump whatever.
Yeah, thanks. We just asking if we could catch it here.
So I need a mover on this as presented. Councillor Anderson, Councillor Aries, any other comments on this? All right, call.
Oh, I do have one more, sorry.
Go ahead.
So the last time we applied for this temporary use permit, I think we applied for like 4 years, wasn't it longer than? I see this is just until September of this year, so it's a short temporary use permit. Weren't our last ones, so Kelly, you might know, weren't they longer, like 4 years or something?
Yeah, so Scott's talking about reapplying to the LR to get that extended one. This is just a little buffer.
Oh, sorry, okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I missed that. Okay,
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions on this? Okay, I'm gonna call a question on the resolution. All those in favor? Mr. Malmus?
oh, did he?
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
And we'll-
Sorry, Scott, I
All right. All right,
blacked out there.
got that one looked after. All right, we're looking into bylaws and policies, number 13A. So election official remuneration policy F12. There's a recommendation that the District of Sycamoose election official remuneration policy F12 be amended as presented this 22nd day of June 2022. I need a mover on this. Counselor Evans, Counselor Aries, any comments or questions on this?
I do.
Colleen?
So is this something that comes up I don't recall, comes up annually?
Yeah, Jeff can speak, or Jen can speak on.
Yeah, Jen, can you give us what?
I'm just adding a couple words to the policy to allow for an hourly rate in addition to a full day rate. So right now, as the policy exists, it's $300 for the full day. I'd like us to also have a $25 hourly rate, just to provide some flexibility in terms of recruiting election officials to work that day. If they can't work a 14-hour day, I can schedule some shifts.
All right. There you go. Jen explained it all. Okay, I'm gonna call the question on the resolution. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Jen. All right, going into zoning amendment application on Parksville Street, 22043Z. Recommendation that the District of Sycamoose zoning amending bylaw number 10/20/2022 be adopted on the 22nd day of June 2022. I need a mover on this. Councillor Malmus, seconded by Councillor Bushel. Any other comments or questions on this? I call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Had to look around, make sure everybody's hand was up. It is 7:30. All right. Let's do C. Zoning amendment application number 22063Z, 506 and 508 Capel Street. Recommendation that the District of Sycamoose zoning amendment bylaw number 10/21/22 be adopted this 22nd day of June 2022. I need a mover. Councillor McCabe, Councillor Bushel. Any comments or questions on this? All right, let's call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thanks for the housekeeping. Okay. Correspondence. Let's go. We're getting to the end of the thing. Correspondence for information. List here. Trail Alliance, Interior Health. Interior Health Mayor piece, and any one of these correspondence, does council like to speak on behalf of any of these correspondence at this particular time? All right, I'm not hearing any. I'm not seeing any hands up. Okay, well then we'll move on to the next step. Thank you for that. Hope everybody read it all. Okay, recommendation at the regular council meeting for June 2022 be adjourned at 7:30. Councillor Malmus, Councillor Anderson, all in favor? We're exactly 1 hour